Panoramas are a brilliant way of showcasing the true majesty of a landscape, enabling you to condense a fantastic amount of detail into an image that breaks free from the traditional frame constraints. But merging the multiple individual shots into a single image is a far from simple process. It's one that requires complex mathematical coding to plot control points in those overlapping images. You need specialized software to merge those images, and let's just say that not all apps are created equal. I've been putting the latest versions of all the well-known apps through their paces, and having rendered many gigabytes of landscapes and then retested them because I didn't believe the results, I came to a surprising conclusion. The best Pano app of them all is completely free. We all hate clickbait, so here is the TLDR, the front-loaded results. So you don't have to go hunting through the video, mouse finger hovering over the old timeline bar. In my testing, the open source app Hugin proved to be the most reliable and most capable panoramic stitching app I tested. Yes, better even than the latest version of PTGui. Don't worry, I brought the receipts. The specialized drone pano app Panovolo was good, but surprisingly outclassed in rendering drone panos by Hugin. Of the panorama tools built into the well-known photo editors, Lightroom Classic was best, closely followed by Photoshop. I did test the other version of Lightroom too, and unsurprisingly got the same results. Affinity Photo was about as good as Capture One, which is to say, mediocre at best. Then, even further behind came Luminar Neo, and in last place was On1 Photo RAW. I'll also be releasing my findings as a Substack article. You'll find the link to that, or you can sign up to read it in the section below this video. All right, you poor attention staff, gentlemen and gentle ladies, these are the headlines. As promised, here are the receipts. In order to put these apps through their paces, I needed to test them on edge cases. My old TI-84 school calculator could probably merge a regular pano with heaps of unique detail in each frame. So I concentrated on edge cases such as aerial panos with the ocean in them. Stitching a series of overlapping photos with the kind of empty horizons you get in coastal panos is bloody hard. I did, of course, also try regular panos, and several of the apps still managed to stuff them up too. I have an Apple Mac and M2 MacBook Pro with 32 gigs of RAM, and all of the apps I tested were therefore macOS versions, and the current versions as of Valentine's Day 2025. Since performance levels vary hugely from system to system and platform to platform, speed metrics are fairly meaningless, and therefore I didn't pay a huge amount of attention to the time each render took. Okay, let's get into the results, starting with those specialist apps. The headline when it comes to the specialist apps is that they far exceeded the quality of the pano tools in all of the photo editors. It's an extra step to output your photos to a third-party app, but given my testing with those built-in tools, it's a step you'll want to take. I've owned PTGui for about 8 years now. I bought it about the same time as I upgraded my drone to a DJI Phantom 4. It is not cheap software. I have the personal edition, which costs $189. The Pro version, which includes HDR panos and object removal, costs $335. It also has a clunky interface that's about as inviting as a rectal probe with a traffic cone. Has a fairly well-defined step-based workflow design, but despite all that, it feels like the developers didn't want anyone to actually understand how to use it. Panos are managed in one window, viewed and tweaked in another, and then actually rendered back in the first window because fuck you. They've jollied up the icons in this latest version, but it still looks like an exercise in municipal parking garage chic. PTGui's main strength is its speed. It also has a batch mode, so you could load up whole series of panos and just let it churn its way through them. It performed well in my tests, managed to find the control points across all of the images, even when it was just monotone looking sky, but it consistently had stitching errors in my aerial panos, quite large errors in some cases. Now, the deal with PTGui is that you can go in and tweak the control points when there are stitching errors, and that is what I have always done when it failed to properly align the shots in a pano. But the process of adding those extra control points is a load of fiddly bollocks that involves zooming right in and scrutinizing the smallest, most tiny, blurry little details of adjacent panoramic frames. In other words, on a consistently high number of occasions, you end up doing precisely what the sodding app is supposed to be doing itself. Now, the core of PTGui, which was originally released back in 2000, is the Panorama tools library developed by Helmut Dersch in the late 1990s. And those same core tools can be found in the open source Panorama photo stitching app, Hugin. Yes, you pronounce it Hugin. It's an old Norse word meaning thought, not Hugin, which is something entirely different. Hugin was considerably slower than PTGui, but to put that in perspective, it takes 90 seconds to render a 21-shot pano on my Mac, so it's hardly a deal breaker. Hugin has a horrible spare parts and clashing colors interface, but I'll cut the developers some slack, because firstly, they're doing it for nothing but the love of it, and secondly, they're doing it best. Yes, in my testing, Hugin was far and away the best pano stitcher of all the apps I tested. It managed to find control points in all of the photos, and it had fewer stitching errors than PTGui. To be transparent here, none of the apps were perfect, but Hugin had far and away the cleanest, most error-free stitch outputs. When I first realized this, I kept hunting for panos to trip Hugin up, but it came through every time with flying colors. That's not all though. Besides handling more projection types than any other pano app on the market, Hugin does HDR panos too, and it does them well. I had to pay to upgrade my license of PTGui from version 12 to 13 to do this review. I was really regretting that $69 fee by the time I finished testing Hugin, because it's actually easier to use than PTGui, and don't even get HDR panos for the money. The only big downside with Hugin is it can't read native RAW files. My advice is to output 16-bit TIFFs, which retained all the same color and light information as a RAW. It's a lot of extra storage space, but you can always delete those intermediate files after use. I also had problems running the current version of the app. It crashed every time I clicked the tip of the day box, but I've tried a GPU fix build by the dev team, and that worked flawlessly. The third standalone app is Panovolo, a slightly more specialized app developed specifically to stitch aerial shots taken with a drone. It will process regular panos too, but its party trick is it uses the extra flight telemetry metadata in drone photos to more accurately stitch the shots together. It is also the least configurable of the specialized pano apps. Has an edit mode, but it's not terribly useful because you can only tweak your pitch and roll, and the controls are god-awful. It can do standard cylinder, Mercator, and rectilinear panos, horizontal or vertical, or 360 spheres, but that's your lot. In my test, it did about as well as Adobe Lightroom Classic, but was nowhere close to Hugin. That said, it does an infinitely better job than the pano stitching built into the DJI app. And if you don't own something like Lightroom, then at $29, it's a solid option. That brings us along to the built-in panorama tools in the well-known photo editors. I tested Photoshop, Lightroom, Capture One, Affinity Photo, Luminar, and On1. And as I stated earlier, they were all inferior to the two best performing standalone pano apps, Hugin and PTGui. The best of the Pano tools is in Adobe Lightroom Classic. This has an excellent panorama merging tool with a couple of features that make it a great fit for landscape photographers, but you cannot really tweak any alignment issues. Lightroom Classic's Pano functions work well in most instances, but it struggles occasionally with aerial panos. When it does get it wrong, it's never usually a drastic issue, usually a small step error on the horizon, rarely anything more serious. Since you can't edit the positioning of the images, you need to edit it manually to fix the error, either using generative fill or some manual work in Photoshop. You only get 3 basic projection types, but they're probably all you're ever going to need if you don't have a drone or shoot real estate and therefore need to do 360 spheres. The boundary warp tool is brilliant, fill edges is great, and the HDR panorama tool works like a charm as well. Since all of my photos are managed in a massive Lightroom Classic catalog, the built-in Pano tool is always what I use first, and I only move on to PTGui or Photoshop on the fairly rare occasions when there are issues. Adobe Photoshop, meanwhile, has had a panorama tool built in for a couple of decades now, and it's safe to say that it's a reliable and well-crafted tool. To stitch the images, Photoshop imports the entire image sequence as layers, aligns them all, and then, if you enable blending, computes layer masks to show just those parts of the images it needs. This means it's a wholly different process to all the other Pano tools, which marry up the edges of adjacent images and then attempts to seamlessly blend them all together. You can configure the type of Pano projection at the start of the merge and enable content-aware fill for those boundary areas that would otherwise be transparent. Serif have had a Pano mode in Affinity Photo since its very early days. In fact, they added it in version 1.4 all the way back in 2015. It does okay with traditional Panos shot on DSLR or mirrorless cameras, but struggles on drone shots or Pano sequences lacking masses of adjacent control points. To its credit, I didn't see many of the banding issues I experienced in some of the other apps, and you can also edit image alignment manually should it be required, but it had joint alignment issues on pretty much all of the drone panos I tested, missing entire frames out of the image sequence in some cases, and creating wobbly horizon lines in others. Affinity Photo does have one unique tool that is useful to anyone who shoots 360 panos. You can turn on live projection and edit a pano in sphere mode, which makes fixing up holes, i.e. at the nadir, very easy. Capture One got its own built-in pano mode a couple of years ago with the release of Capture One 22, so the developers have had a bit of time to iron out the bugs. Unfortunately, it's a load of shit and struggles on even the most basic pano shots. There are serious issues with the panos it produces in all 3 core areas: blending, stitching, and projection. To be more specific, firstly, it does a lousy job blending images, resulting in banding issues on even the simplest of panos, with or without that light fall-off correction. Secondly, it does a poor job of the stitching, particularly on aerial panos, leaving entire images out because it can't find any suitable control points. Thirdly, did a lousy job with projection models, so you end up with banana-shaped panos that are absolutely bugger all use to anyone. On1 Photo RAW 2025 has a singularly useless pano mode that sucks when used on simple landscape panos and bugs out with an error message when confronted with aerial panos. It managed the stitching of the few panos I managed to process with the ad, but sucked when it came to blending the individual shots into one cohesive image. And I have no test images at all for the drone panos because it fell on its arse in every single one of the test sequences I tried to process. If you manually loaded the images yourself into Microsoft Paint and lined them all up by eye, it would probably look better than the panos I managed to get Photo RAW to process. And finally, we have Luminar Neo, which did at least have a crack at processing the drone panos, but did such a singularly woeful job that I'd almost have preferred it to shit itself like On1 Photo RAW did. Those drone panos are completely unusable, with missing images from the sequence and horizon lines that looked like it was high on meth when it attempted to stitch them together. The DSLR and mirrorless panos are awful too. The best I can say about them is they didn't suffer from banding in the sky. But zoom in 100% on those panos and you'll discover that it's so wretched at stitching the shots together that the output looks like a strong Gaussian blur's been added in post. And that's the current state of Panorama apps in 2025. The main takeaway from my testing is this. If you are at all serious about your panos and shoot them on a regular basis, I strongly advise you to use a standalone pano app because you will get far better, more consistent results, and those images will be less error prone. But do not for 1 second assume that paying cold hard cash for your software puts you at an advantage over the folks roughing it out in the world of open source software. Because in this case, it's categorically not true. You know, the funny thing is, I wasn't even going to include Hugin in this test, and it was only my autistic urge for completeness that led to its inclusion. Hugin's interface looks like it was designed by 14 people, all of whom hate each other. But it is far and away the most powerful pano app, and it produces far and away the best results. It even has a tiered interface with a simple mode that locks away all the complex stuff until you've studied a degree in advanced calculus and learned to love the word parallax. The pano modes in Capture One, On1 Photo RAW and Luminar Neo are staggeringly shit and an embarrassment to the developers that considered them worthy of inclusion in their otherwise decent apps. Affinity Photo is just about usable with a following wind behind it. Lightroom Classic and Lightroom, the other version, have far and away the best bundled pano mode. And you always have the fallback of Adobe Photoshop on those rare occasions when they fail to come up with the goods. And that'll do us for this roundup of Panorama apps in 2025. What software do you use? Did you ever consider trying the free and open source alternatives? Let me know in the comments section below. I'm sure to hear from a few of you Dark Table fans. If you got value from this content, then please consider subscribing to my channel. I also draw your attention to my Substack, where you can find the written version of this roundup. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a like, and I will see you guys on the next one. Ta-ta.